Well, haha. Alright, do I have something to talk to you about today? Well, it's the end of the year. It's 2019. It's the end of the decade. End of a millennium, really.
Mark of the
We're
millennium.
going to talk about what the best albums were that came out this year. And the best songs. The best concert performances. And I'm even going to talk about album of the decade. I know. It's going to be a long-ass video. So, number 10. The Tyler album, Igor. Now I know what you're thinking. The hipster outrage. Why isn't this higher up? Why isn't this the album of the year? And it's just not. But it is maybe one of Tyler's best albums. I say one of because, you know, Wolf. That's the one that I think is better. I mean, from start to finish, it's just a fun, jazzy, instrumental ride that has got many great tracks on it, one of which is actually on my Song of the Year list, but we'll get into that later. So, number 9. We got Solange, When I Get Home. What really made it great was it had this visual component that came out with it alongside it that really just amplified the whole experience. And when that dropped, coincided with the album, I actually found myself liking the visual more. I did experience that one first and then go to the album, but also really the project itself just really flows consistently from start to finish. It sounds like Solange just listened to the Earl Sweatshirt album that came out last year, was like, I want to make that, but my version of that, me edition. Solange Sweatshirt. Okay, moving on, we have number 8. DJ Lucas's Big Bleep Music Volume 3. Now I know what you're saying. Who the fuck is this? Well, allow me to put you on.
Bro, chick, what up?
He's really just got a personality and wave of his own, and it's worth commending because in the current age of hip-hop and other music, there are a lot of people that like to just copy other people's style. DJ Lucas is really somebody who's kind of really coming into his own mold and his own lane, and it doesn't feel like he's really copying anybody else's style. It's really uniquely his own. It's really changed the slang around weed culture for me. We're not smoking blunts, we're not smoking doinks, we're smoking bleeps. So check that out. One of his songs is also on my list for songs of the year, but we'll get to that. Number 7, that Earl Sweatshirt Foot album, the Foot one. So this album really kind of came out of nowhere for me, and it was a pleasant surprise because, you know, coming from not even a whole year from his last album coming out, we get treated to this 7-track project that upon first listening I was a little skeptical. And definitely, some of the tracks were very jarring upon first listen, but it's really settled down into what I believe is a really good bed of tracks. A really good, solid project from start to finish. Interesting features, interesting delivery. The songs on here are great. And one of the other songs is also on my list for Song of the Year. So yeah, give that one a check, Ski. Check that one out. I think you might like it. Next, Konkyo Younggaku by various artists. So this is a Japanese ambient album that I believe is a collection of songs that were made in the 80s and 90s, but were packaged together in a way this year to sort of give you the ultimate like reading experience. Or if you were like I've read a lot of manga, like I Am a Hero, to this soundtrack, and it was just a great soundscape to put on in the background where you could just throw this thing on and like meditate or go for a walk, and just you'd be treated to like this moving experience that was really just like, it was just calm and beautiful, and you know, these different sounds that you get to listen to on this project, I feel like can just really put you in like a special place mind state wise. So I might play a little bit of it right now just so you can understand what I'm talking about. Alright, so now we're getting down to the nitty-gritty, the top 5 albums of the year. This is playing with the big boys now.
Oh, that's pretty.
Number 5. Bon Iver's I, I. This album's great. I loved it. Really followed up on his last project, 22 A Million, in that kind of same vibe of like using the OP1 and other sort of like instrumentations that were really digital and trying to chase that sound. And I feel like even the fact that some of these tracks were kind of ideas left over from those sessions, they really get a light and life of their own on this project. So you're not really listening to 22-2 on this one. This is really its own thing. Start to finish, I mean, it's a great Bon Iver album, you know? If you don't like Bon Iver, you don't like the singing, the high falsetto, the emotional journey he brings you on, well, then get the out. Anyway, so number 4 we are getting to is Blood Orange's Angel Pulse. Upon first listening to this project, I kind of thought that it was sort of like the B-sides or leftovers from what we got on last year's Blood Orange project, but sitting with this and allowing more time to pass, it really became its own thing. Cartilized into its own thing. I meant to say carterized and cartilages. Cartilage? I mean, it's like, the way how I would describe it is like a Blood Orange infomercial, where some of the tracks are like 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes, or even sometimes 3, but they flow into each other, and the way how the album is set up is like in a way where you're kind of almost channel surfing, but all of the channels are like a Blood Orange song and a vibe and an atmosphere, and it's really worth checking out. The features are great. It's the similar Blood Orange cast and crew you got on there. Ian Isaiah, the list goes on. And number 3, it's Vampire Weekend's Father of the Bride. There, I said it. This is a good Vampire Weekend album. In fact, the sounds here are rich, they're quality. They were made in a studio. Some sounds are lo-fi on purpose. Some sounds are really rich in texture on purpose. The duets on here are beautiful. The features here are great. The songs are great. The lyrics here, I really gotta say, might be the best lyrics on a Vampire Weekend album. They're just very well thought out. I mean, the album seems long at first, but it's not padded. It really has its own length and its own vibe, different than other Vampire Weekend projects in the past. But I do gotta say, this album was great. I loved it. I do gotta say, I do prefer the other Steve Lacy song, Flower Moon, on here over Sunflower. I just was kind of, you know, why was that the hit that got made for it? But I digress. Okay, number 2. We're getting to the nitty-gritty of it. It's Tori Amos' Outer Peace. Come on, you already know this. You know this. Okay, so a little background about this album. Came out beginning of 2019. We're talking January. It's freezing outside. It's death outside. No one's alive. It's in New York City. What is this album about? Finding your outer peace in a congested cityscape. At least, like, that's kind of my interpretation of it. This album, is trying to paint a picture of like living in this time we are in, where everybody's busy, there's a dread certain in the atmosphere, people are overworked, they're tired, they're busy, they're traveling, there are missed connections, things don't always work out, there are desires about wanting a house that you can't afford, you know, just to somehow flex, or you feel like it's been like indoctrinated inside of you to want these sort of things. So you get like themes like that on this album, plus you get like moments of pure ecstasy and excitement and happiness and joy on this project through songs like Who I Am. You know, let me just save that for later on in this video when I start to talk about these songs, but check out this project. I'm sure you're gonna love it, or enjoy some of it. Gonna wait for this truck to go past number 1 album of 2019 is JPEG Mafia's All My Heroes Are Cornballs. This album blew past my expectations, and I was already coming at it with a lot of those. In particular, I loved Veteran that came out last year. I thought that was like an amazing project. It kind of gave me Death Grips vibes, but this guy, Peggy, he really holds his own, and he uses more like sonic paletry from like a PlayStation 2 era type of like sounds, like that you'd hear on Tekken or Kingdom Hearts, or, you know, references to Jak and Daxter. They're all on this project, and all done in a way that I feel like are really interesting, engaging, and motivating. The big three. You know, it's really just like punk rap, anti-capitalistic, anti-white nationalist, like the vibes here, they're amazing, you know, and I can't really say too much more great things about this because, you know, one of these tracks is also on my song list right here, but I really gotta say the production on here, it's all done by himself too. He's a one-man band, so to speak. I mean, he does have some features on this project, but he's doing all the stuff. He's writing it, he's rapping it, he's producing it, he's making it for you to consume, and it's great. And it really is my album of the year.
Cause